this is sunk on a boat, in a ship, now, or it was 500 years ago, you dig it up, it has tremendous value. There will be numismatic value plus the real value of gold. This sinks, you put it to the bottom, and who cares? The Federal Reserve has been given the power and the authority by our Congress, in contrary to the Constitution, to create money out of thin air.
Bernanke's testimony. I yield back.
Gentleman, Texas, Mr. Paul, for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you for calling this hearing, because the issue of transparency of the Federal Reserve System is something that is of crucial value to us. I rather enjoy the fact that the Federal Reserve has been in the limelight lately, because that is the source of our problems. That's where the inflation comes from. That's where the distortion comes from. That's where the malinvestment comes from. And it's a shame that we don't know more about it.
Congressman Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The best way I could describe the problems that we face here in this country, as well as the problem that the Federal Reserve faces, is that we're indeed between the rock and the hard place, because we have a serious problem. We don't talk about much how we got here. We talk about how we're going to patch it up. The bubble has been burst. We saw what happened after the NASDAQ bubble burst. We don't ask how it was created, and then we have a housing bubble, and it's deflating and it's spreading. And yet nobody says, where does it come from? And what is the advice that you generally get? And that is, inflate the currency. They don't say inflate the currency. They don't say debase the currency. They don't say devalue the currency. They don't say cheat the people who are saved. They say lower the interest rates. But they never ask you, and I don't hear you say too often, the only way I can lower interest rates is I have to create more money. I have to lower the discount rate. I have to make it generous. I have to increase reserves. I have to lower the interest rates and fix the interest rates, overnight rates. And the only way you can do this is by increasing the money supply. And I see this as the problem that we don't want to talk about. Currently, of course, we can't follow the money supply with M3, but we can follow one of your statistics, which is the MZM, the ready cash available, and we see that inflation is alive and well. It's that money supply figure is going up about 20% annualized, and this just means that the dollar gets weaker. And everybody said, well, the dollar that's great. Dollar weaker, we're going to have export. And that is a fallacy, maybe for a month or two, but it just invites inflation. And unless we get down to the bottom of it and define what inflation is, and not look at only prices. This was taught by the free market economists all through the 20th century. They said, beware. They will increase the money supply, but they will make you concentrate on prices. And they will give you CPIs and PPIs, and they'll fudge those figures, and they'll talk about wage and price controls to solve our problems. And we ignore the fundamental flaw, and that is that not only have we had a subprime market in housing, the whole economic system is subprime in that we have artificially low interest rates. And it wasn't under your tenure in office. It's been going on for 10 years or longer, and now we're bearing the fruits of that policy. I mean, a 1% interest rate, overnight rates, and that's not a distortion. Instead of looking at these the consumer prices, which nobody in this country really believes, we need to talk about the distortion, the malinvestment, the misdirection, the bad information that is gotten from artificially low interest rates. In many ways, some people refer to you as a price fixer, because you fix interest rates. The market is powerful and usually overwhelms and does come into play, but when the Fed fixes an interest rate at 1%, that is price fixing. At the end of your testimony, you suggested that we should address this housing crisis and we should have rules that would address deceptive lending practices. And I just think that is not the answer at all. The real deception is when we distort the value of money. When we create money out of thin air, we have no savings, and yet there's so-called capital, there's money available, but it comes from what you have to do, and the pressure is put on you. So I think we have to get back to the very fundamentals of where this problem comes from. And the bubbles occur when we have this malinvestment and the creation of new money. So my question boils down to this: how in the world can we expect to solve the problems of inflation, that is, the increase in the supply of money, with more inflation?
Gentleman from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When the chairman of the committee opened up the committee today, he suggested that we look backward as well as forward, and that all our problems didn't come from January 20th on, and I agree with that. Matter of fact, just looking back at the last administration isn't quite enough, and in order to understand the problems that we face and understand the cause, we'd have to look back possibly even several decades. The debate today so much and the discussion has been on technical aspects, which I think are very important, but quite frankly I think that deals a lot with the symptoms rather than the basic cause, and I'd like to deal more with the cause, so I have a question for the entire panel. And the question keys around this cause. Right now, I think the Congress and the Treasury, as well as the Fed, operates on the condition that the free markets failed and we didn't have enough regulation. Others will say that we got into this mess because we've been living with a condition of crony corporatism, inflationism, and interventionism. We had inbred into this system a lot of moral hazard, which encouraged a lot of risk and a lot of guarantees, and we would have the lender of last resort, and we really didn't have to worry. And it created, once again, a phenomenon that's been known throughout history. It's called the madness of crowds, and that's nothing new, but there was certainly a lot of madness going in the economy and in the marketplace. But the question really comes out, who should allocate capital? Is it the free market or should it be government? And I think that we had a system where the free market wasn't working. We didn't have capitalism. The allocation of capital came from the direction of the Federal Reserve and a lot of rules and regulations by the Congress. We had essentially no savings, and capital was supposed to come from savings, and we had artificially low interest rates. So looking at all that, then this means we'd have to look differently at what our solutions should be. Everybody loves the boom. That was great. Nobody questions all this. But when the bust comes, everybody hates it. And then they quickly have to decide what to do. Unfortunately, I don't see that we're addressing the real problems. We're not addressing what we're dealing with is trying to find a victim. Who's going to soak up the derivatives? Who's going to soak up the debt? Who's going to be penalized? And right now, it looks like Wall Street's getting bailed out, and the little guy in the middle of Main Street America are all going to pay the penalty. And I think this is, we're absolutely going in the wrong direction, whether it's AIG or the rest.